Hi, everybody. Happy April the 1st. And Steph K here. And today we're going to do a tutorial on brows. And I know it's April 1st, but this is for real. We're actually going to do brows. I'm not going to pull a funny on you. Um, I hope that everything's going well with everybody and that this COVID craziness isn't getting to you too much. I've actually been having a lot of fun. I've been doing a lot of cooking, and I did baking the other day and it actually worked out. And I cooked a turkey upside down, but that's a story unto its own. I didn't realize why it had a big hole in it and it had no legs. But it turns out that I was cooking it on its legs and they disintegrated. But it was good. Anyways, tales of the kitchen, as they say. So I'll just wait a couple seconds here just to see if anybody hops on live. I'm not quite sure who's here. But what we're going to do with this particular tutorial, because a few people asked for brows, and they really do help to set the whole look of the makeup. And they're often overlooked. I know that there was like a massive brow craze. I was with Sephora like end of 2015, right into 2018. Hi, Mama. I see my mom just jumped on. I see her little gardening photo. So there was this big craze in sort of 2016, 17, 18 in there, and it's sort of died back. But I'm telling you, I think a lot of the brows looked fabulous. Certain cultures really emphasize the brows, but it goes with the overall makeup, right? It's not like, I think that there were a lot of, interpretations here that looked a lot like Groucho Marx. People would come in, and if you mess with your brow, you could look just plain angry. When you're looking at somebody and going like, what did I do? And it's like, oh, no, it's just, you got some angry brows. So what I'm going to do today is just focus on the same sort of format. So we'll look at a couple of just different tools, and don't let the word tool intimidate you. It's just, like what are the simple little gadgets you use to help to shape your brow. With respect to something like, actually like tweezing and trimming and all of that kind of stuff, I'll just speak a little bit theoretically about it. I'm not about to get on here and start chopping away my brows, because that wouldn't be good. I actually do believe when it comes to the trimming especially, and the tweezing and the shaping, if you're starting at ground zero, I do believe in going to a professional to get that done. There are some great ladies that you might know independently. Like I know that, I'm in the Ajax area, a lot of great locals here. Support them now, especially if you go to, Oshawa or some of the Sephoras. They've got the Benefit brow bars, and I've got some gals there like Teresa and Lauren. Like they're fantastic. So anyways, that's like just a little bit about, do I go at my own brows and tweeze and pluck at them? Not too much, really. I mean, just like the underside. Yeah, that I'm not intimidated to do, but I don't go too crazy with all of the other stuff. So what I'm going to talk to you about to start would be just some of the different products you're going to encounter when it comes to actually shaping the brow. And, like this is my, here we go, big old face in the mirror, in the camera. But, there's nothing on my brows right now. So this is my natural brow shape. And, I'll use a couple products just to sort of fill it in. I can do it with just one, just because, it's quite substantial to begin with. There are sometimes good combinations of products you can use, because if you don't have any brow hair to begin with, which is one of the comments that had popped through the thread, all is not lost there. We can still create, a nice brow, even if your starting point is almost nothing. So I'm just going to show you some of the different products right now, and sort of how they differ. And pardon me, I like to go from, like, I'd like to say kind of going from easiest to hardest, but you kind of can't do that with brow products, because it really depends on how much brow hair you have. And then the experience does play in. So for some people, you might be able to get away with just a powder, right? Just a powder to fill in your brow. But the thing is, if you just use a powder and you don't really have much hair to work with throughout the course of the day, it's just like an eyeshadow. Like unless you use a wax to build it first. If you use eyeshadow on its own and you just try to make a brow out of that, it's going to be very faint. And just the natural oils of your skin, it's probably just going to wash away with very little time. I've seen that happen. You can get products. Senna makes them, Senna. It started out with a brow wax, right? And the point of the brow wax would actually to be giving the brow powder something to adhere to. I don't have one of the waxes here, unfortunately, to show to you, but you would literally, like dip into the wax and you would press it into the upper brow area, and especially when it's where it's piecey, and then you would take the powder and then sort of press on top, and then it gives you somewhat of a structure. It gives you some volume there. So, you might, certain eyeshadows will work well for your brow hair. So in terms of, you might see something like this. Like this is something I would use professionally, right? This is an Anastasia. See, it's a little beaten, but it's an Anastasia brow palette. You don't need a palette because you've only got one set of eyebrows unless you're going to do something really funky, right? But, it goes through the whole color spectrum, and then there's the building wax down there. But, so if you see a powder, you would just pick one of these for your particular brow, and you'll see a lighter one and a darker one. And the lighter one you can use sort of for a mapping, or for just to help map out the brow. It doesn't get too dark. The darker ones you're going to use where you want sort of more definition. Even the lighter one you might use in the front area, because you don't want to be making sort of a square brow at the front. So powders on their own. Can I use a powder on my own? Yes, because look at my starting point, right? I would just use a powder and I would just fill in the areas where it's a little bit patchy. If I didn't have a brow whatsoever, just a powder on its own, I don't think it's going to cut it, just from personal experience. So powder would be the first one. Then you get into different types of pencils, and they'll have different ends. Look at the end of the pencil, and they're going to help to dictate how much precision the brush is going to give you. So you might find one, like this is one of Benefit. This is like a Precisely My Brow. Okay, so something like this, you roll it up. These ones all roll. And then the product pops up. You can see how fine that is. Very, very fine tip on that. So these just roll up, they roll down. So these are great. It's called Precisely My Brow for a reason, right? So these are great for, creating a very nice thin line, just filling in areas where you just need a little bit of precision, right? These ones, if you have a lot of filling in to do, they can run out a little bit easy. So another product that was created, and different brands will make this. I happen to have the Benefit ones here, and that's why I'm showing you, but I know Anastasia makes them as well. And those two brands kind of went head to head in a brow product competition. See one like this. I don't know if you can see the shape of it. So first of all, it's wider, and second of all, if you look at the top, it's in a triangle form. The idea of this, and this is great for someone like me because I got a lot of brow. The tip of it is meant to do the precision, and then the wider area you can just fill it in afterwards. So it's wider. You don't feel like you're taking forever with a tiny little tip like this to fill in your brow, when I can just do a couple of sweeps and then fill it in quickly because I've got a lot of brow and it's thicker, right? So if you're looking for precision, it's supposed to give you both. The tip of the thing will give you the finer point, and then the wider part is just to fill in. Okay, so that's, but in terms of formulation, the formulations are the same. It's more what type of end do you want on the brush. And then this is a smaller version of this because they come with the spoolie in their bums, which is fantastic, right? Because often I'll be applying a little bit of product and then I brush it through, because it can be piecey. You want it to just be a really smooth looking brow. And here's one from this one. This one is Arbonne's version. This is the dark brown. This one I really love as well. The formulation is a little bit more dense, and it's kind of in between those two because it's got a rounded, so it's got the spoolie in the bum, right? And then it has, it does have a bit of a point here as well. Even when it was wearing down though and becoming a little bit more rounded, because I have quite a bit of brow, I could use a bit of powder to shape, and then I would just use this to fill in. Okay. All right. So those are sort of pencils, right? So first we spoke powders, just like powders. If you've got a full brow, you can just use them to sort of piece in missing areas. Like I said, there are products that come with like a pomade or a wax, I should say, not a pomade, a wax, right? To press into the brow area where it's piecey, and then the powder will stick on top. Then we spoke about pencils. So super fine tip pencil like this, they roll up, they roll down. You don't sharpen them. That's the difference between this and something like an eye pencil, because they're very dense, and they don't get all mushy, right? Because they're pulling through and they're creating structure. They're pulling through your brow, so they're not particularly soft, but they're soft enough to give a payout and work through the brow, right? And again, this one, all the brow pencils for the most part that I can think of, yeah, they all have a spoolie in their bum. And then this one, again, it had the tip for precision. It had the thicker part so that after you sort of map out the brow, you can just pull the color through, turn the spoolie around, right? And I'll actually, use a couple of these just to show you, how they work. So that's pencils, that's powders. Now you get cool products like this, like these are one and the same kind of thing, right? So you might look at it and go, what the heck is that? And it's like a little mascara wand. So that is the little Arbonne version. Here's a Benefit version of the same thing, right? Now the beauty of these guys, these are good for a number of reasons, right? Sometimes you'll get a gray hair. If you're like, you'll get a gray hair that might pop through, and that's really annoying. And so to try to capture that gray hair and hit it with a pencil is really, really hard. You might dust a powder on it, it might catch it, but it's difficult. So these kind of products, because they're like a liquid mascara for the brows, they actually sweep on top and they cover gray hairs like that when you get them in your brows, and it's pretty amazing. And what you can also do with these guys to build volume is you work backwards with them so that you're getting the back side of the hair, and then you brush forward, and then it gives the brows more volume. Okay, they are a liquid, like they're like a mascara, so you have to be a little bit careful with them. And they tend to work best if you have sort of like, I was going to say if you have like sort of a medium volume of hair to a little bit more full, it's kind of easier because you can catch the hair because they're in place. If you have very, very sparse, something like that, what are you going to catch, right? Like they're meant to sit on the hair and give them more volume. So if you don't have a lot of brow hair, these guys can be a little bit more tricky. Okay, now this type of product is a pomade, okay? And it's a cream, it's a cream sort of pomade product. A lot of times these products are waterproof. I think almost everything I've shown you is waterproof. The Benefit ones are for sure. This one is Tarte's, and it is, I believe, waterproof as well. Now these guys, you got to be careful because you are getting a thick cream, and it's very pigmented. And if you're not careful, you get the Groucho Marx look in one fell swoop. They can be a mini minor disaster, or they can be fantastic. Okay, so with a product like this, you would take, a really, really thin brow brush. I'd use this brush for anything really in my brows. And you're going to take a bit of the product and really wipe it down on the edges or right into the lid, so that there's hardly anything on the brush, and then you can manage it. But if you just take a scoop of it and you put it on, you're going to have angry brows without even trying, right? So that's a pomade. And I'd say this one's a little bit more advanced. If you're not careful, it can be the one that is, because it's waterproof, because it's a cream, because the color is just so dense, If you don't watch what you're doing, you might want to graduate to something like this, or get a pro to show you how to do it like on your own face, and then it can work really, really well. What I've done in the past before too, and again, this is for my pro kit, and for anybody that's turning up late, which is great. It's fine. Hi, welcome. I was saying that some places will have the dual color of shadow, one for the light, like that helps shading, or if you want to do an ombre, like lighter in certain areas, and then use the darker for really where you want structure and definition. And I also have created my own before. Like I've gone into, a store and just, you can look at an eyeshadow palette, and just like, put together some darker shades that you might want to use for eyeshadow and for brows. So generally when you are picking, so let's get into now step one, picking an eye, the shade. All right. So you kind of just look at me quickly and you go, oh, black, pick black. I don't pick black. I don't, my God, even with the gals with the beautiful ebony skin, I very seldom would pick pure black. Like I might use it to enhance or help to draw the shape in certain areas, but black is harsh unless you're going for like goth or a certain type of very dramatic look. Maybe like a Middle Eastern type makeup, they might use a black, but I very seldomly used black when I was professionally doing people's faces, and I don't use it on my own. So when you're looking at your eyebrows are telling, like that's the color you pick. Go with your natural eyebrow color. Now if you start to go gray, or say you do like highlights in your hair, still go with your original eye color, like your original brow color. And it because if you like say you're going gray, like you have a lot of white around here, and you go with like a really light shade, it looks crazy. You're gonna look like a frozen wizard or something. It doesn't look right. If you have hair that naturally has, say, like blonde and sort of taupey blend, like if you have blended hair, go with the darker of the shades. And generally, this is a general rule because we all have, hi, Zita. Sorry, I just said hello to the Philippines. But generally go with the darker shade and sort of the cooler shade. So with me, I would go with like a cooler shade of a dark brown. If I went for a warm shade of brown, it just makes my eyes look all washed out, right? So generally it's the cooler shades. But I would look at each of you individually, and I am creating blends. I'm like when I go at a client, like I'm like tapping into different areas of this palette to get the right color. But a lot of brands will make a spectrum of colors. So go and get matched properly. But just look at your brow, your natural brow color, and go with, like, if you generally go with a cooler shade. I know I might have like like alley cat, like some of my friends have like beautiful auburn hair, but still don't go with like a bright auburn. Go with a deeper auburn, and it just really helps to frame and set the eyes. In terms of the order of operations, when I'm doing makeup, I always do my brows first. I didn't do them today. I did the rest of my makeup. I did a quick makeup, and my first tendency was to go to the brow. And why is that? When we're creating an overall makeup look, what we're doing is we're creating an upward and outward. I keep saying upward and outward, but that's we're going for that sort of overall symmetry. Okay, so let's get into now how in terms of the actual shape and the placement and that sort of thing of the brow. I'm going to give you some really, this is a very basic rules to follow. And these ones they should work for any really type of face. So this is just some ideas about symmetry. Okay. So when you're looking directly at your face, there's going to be sort of 4 things that we're going to do to map out what the brow, where it should start, where the arch should be, and where it should end. Okay, so start, middle, end. All right. You might hear some people speak about the edge of the nose and going straight up. Now, with me, that more or less works, but that's not what I'm going to recommend. If you have if your nose is wider, at the base. Imagine if I started my brow here, okay? We don't want to do that. When you're looking at a brow, you have a natural curvature, right? To the face, to this bone structure, right? And it's just it's a continuation of just this natural arch that occurs. So see how if I'm just mapping it out, I have a natural arch that occurs. If you take your brows and you start them too close in here, first of all, you're going to look angry, and you're going to look angry. You might look a little bit cross-eyed as well, because when people look at you, your eyes are coming closer together. Everything's being drawn together, because that's a very strong line, and the eyes will go to, on the face, the strongest part of that line. Like they go to the strongest, darkest line on your face is where people are looking at you. So they're going to be drawn. I don't know how many times have you ever looked at someone with a strong brow, and like I said, either they look really angry, or it's like they're very quizzical. They look cross-eyed. Oh my God, it's simply their brow. So where do we go? You can look at the inner eye, like the starting point of the eye, and go straight up. And for a lot of people, that will also align to sort of this dent. See the dent in the nose? If you go straight up, it's kind of in there, right? So that's marker number 1, or it's just simply, where does your eye start? And that can be marker number 1. Okay. And you can actually, like, you know, take a little tiny, like whatever brow product you're going to use. You can take a little marking and just kind of put it there. Just to say, okay, that's like, you know, that's one of my starting points. Now I'm going to look over here. I realized the other day I was doing this tutorial and I had my hand in front of most of what I was doing for part of it. So if I go with the inner eye, I can go up, or I can go for just basically sort of in this area, right? So that's kind of my starting point. So point number 1, go straight up and just sort of make, you know, like a little dot or just a little marking. The second, right, would be going from the edge of the nose, right? A lot of people will say the dark dot or the pupil. I wouldn't go by there, because your arch is going to be in the wrong place. It's going to be too high. You want this kind of outward angle. So you're going to go from the edge of the nose to the iris. See the outer iris? And there, that's where I would be marking, is above the iris if I start at the nose, okay? So it would be, you know, like right about there where it naturally does occur. So, you know, you might just take, you know, just a little dot and just say, okay, there's my upper iris. That's, you know, like roughly where I'm going to go, you know, where I'm going to map it out. And then for the outer part, okay. You see, when you have big lips and you're doing a tutorial and you go and make a motion, then you get lipstick on your cheek because my lips are flat. Never mind. And the last part is take the outer edge of the nose to the outer eye, and that's where the brow should end. Okay? Da, da, da. And here we go with that imaginary line I referred to before when we were doing eye makeup. So 3 points. Here, upper arch above the iris, starting from the nose, and the from the nose to the outer eye, and that's where your eyebrow should end. Okay? We good? And again, and so the idea is, you know, it's like a nice upward angle. Here's a couple of things. First of all, if you overpluck your eyebrows, you're going to get to a point where they're going to stop growing in. And, you know, when you have that little dip here, and then it's really, really super thin and it comes down and it starts to look like something that, you know, males give you for reproduction. I'm sorry. It looks like a little, you know what, on your head. That's not attractive. Also, a brow generally it goes from thicker, right, to thinner, and it arches down. If you just create a super thin brow and it has this arc, you're going to look surprised. Like it looks like someone just came up and blah, right? Like this is what we do when we're surprised. We create this ridiculous arch and it's super thin, right? A brow should have a thick to a thinner definition to it. It's not all just one little arch, like a McDonald's arch. Look like you're walking around with McDonald's arch symbols on your head. And also, you know, this area from here to here, like this, as you age and this starts to fall, you know, this area of skin, it starts to get wider, and it looks more aged when you have super thin brows. So you just want them to look a little bit more full. Okay, so what we're going to do, I'll just show you what I would do. So I take a brush like this, like a little spoolie brush, okay? And the products I'm going to use a precision pencil, right? Just to map out the shape. And then just show you what I would do on a regular basis. So I'll use a precision pencil and then maybe a little bit of powder just to fill it in, just to show you how you can use, you know, 2 different things to work together. Just because I do have a lot of brow and I want it to be fair to those that don't. Okay, so let's start with, I'm going to take, I'll take the in-between. I'm going to use this guy. This is my dark brown Shape It pencil. So you can take any of your pencils that have a spoolie, okay, and that roll up, right? So in the front part of the brow, just right in here, right? Keep that lighter. You might see someone create, like some people will create a great big triangle and map it out. A harsh line like that is very severe. It's very unnatural, right? So what I do first is I would just take the spoolie end of my brush and I would brush upward, right? Because that's the way that the brow naturally grows, right? And I just want to see what I have to work with. So I'm brushing upward and over, and then pull the hair across. And then, see, it grows upward, right? But then it starts to grow downward at the midpoint. I don't know if you've ever looked closely at your brow, but that's what it does. So I am just taking it, and then I'll pull it in and just say, okay, as a natural starting point. And this area, yeah, I could clean it up. I'm leaving my brows very natural right now. I'm pretending I'm doing it on purpose, but these are Corona brows. But anyways, let's see what we have to work with, right? Now, if you were going to trim your brows, you would, brush up and to see what kind of hairs are sort of renegade. But you have to watch when you're doing any kind of trimming, because if you start to mess too much with the upper brow, you start to mess with the overall shape of your eyebrow. And that can be a little bit disconcerting. You'll have to wait till they grow back if they do. So I brush upward here again, right? And then I just kind of pull the hairs across because they go up across, right? And then down. So I'm just really looking at the natural shape and pulling them into place. Sometimes even brushing your brows makes a big difference, and then you can pull brow gel through if your brows are nice looking, and it just holds them into place and they look really, really good. Okay, so I've brushed them into place. Okay, so where I begin is I don't begin right on this inner part, right? Because I want to just leave that a little bit softer looking. So I take a step in, and what I like to do, I find this really, really easy, is I etch out the lower shape of the brow to the end point. And that just gives me a mapping, so I don't feel like I'm just like, like one of my friends once said, like a piglet in the wilderness wandering around going, what do I do with this? Okay, so and I had mentioned to you, I'm sorry, that there are four key points to look at when we're mapping out the brow. So this was sort of number one. Where does the eye begin? The iris, the end point. But when we're creating this upward slope, there is yet another point, and this is all from Senna Brow. She's like a wizard in brows. The inner part of the eye, imagine your marking going up to where you created your arch, right? And that's the sort of natural angle that the upward angle that you want the actual brow to have, okay? So you see how it's creating a natural angle, this, okay? So it's an upward slope, and it's not one of these. All right, so I'm gonna take a pencil because I find this really, really easy to do. Just a second here. I'm going to just 1 second. I'm going to have to do one thing. Excuse me for 1 sec, guys. Okay, sorry. I had to just do a pause. Okay, so let's get started. So I'm going to bring my little mirror closer here. Okay, now taking a step in and keeping in mind that angle, and watch what happens just when I etch in the lower brow. Okay, so I'm just taking this pencil and I'm just mapping out the direction. Okay, you can already see that sort of starting to take place. Okay, and then I'm going to continue onward and then just go to my end point. Okay, and then I like to just take this and sort of just soften a little bit and just pull that into the brow. Okay, and I don't like that to go too harsh, right? But you can already see the difference by just taking a color and just like pulling it through. So all I did was I went to my lower brow line, pulled it through, and then just finished it, right? But can you see already the definition between the two? Okay, so again, you're just gently taking it and you're going to map it through and then just take it to your end point, okay? And I always am going back and forth with the end of the spoolie just to soften anything that I've done. Now, in terms of filling it, That is sort of my first mapping, and I find that the easiest thing to do. I could take this pencil, if you have a lot of brow like I do, and I could just go through and sort of fill it in at this point, right? And then what you would do is just take the upper brow, right? And I like to just say, okay, is it patchy anywhere here? I don't use the pencil so much for the top part. I would be more likely to use a brow powder because I feel a little bit more control with it. And that line is in pretty good shape, right? So then what I'm going to do is you're creating upward and outward strokes because that's the way the brow actually grows. You're creating hairs. It's not creating like a bar. You want them to look natural, right? So the motion I use when I'm actually doing a brow, if you watch, again, I'm not going to start here just because I want to keep that a little bit lighter, right? So I'm going to go upward because that's the way the brow grows in this area. It's an upward motion, right? And then you start to pull it sideways because that is the way that the hair grows. So you're going sideways like this to fill in the brow, okay? And I'm going to keep going over here so I can see what I'm doing, okay? And then I put some of the product in, and then I take my spoolie, right? And I'm going to pull it through as I go, okay? See how it's already just taking shape. And then I come over here, okay? And then I'm going to pull that hair down because that's the way that the brow hair grows, okay? And let me know if you're all still with me. All right, and then I'll do just a couple of motions downward, and then I'm going to end the brow, okay? Now, see the motion? I keep pulling, using this and pulling it into shape. Now, these products, because they're like a pencil or they're like, you know, there's like a creamy element to them. If you feel like it's getting too dense or it's too much product, you can also use it in combination with a brow powder, right? So I would take my spoolie, and like in this area, I like to use more of a powder just because it's a softer look. And like I said, the hairs here grow up and you're going to pull them forward. So I would take like a cool brown color, which I have here, like a medium to dark brown in a cool color, right? And now I'm just going to go and say, okay, where else can I fill in the brow? And so in this area, I'm going to go upward, right? I'm just going to fill it in, okay? See that? What are the strokes, guys? They're just like little tiny. On the upper, if I feel like I want to make this look a little bit more defined, right? As I said, if you just, you know, go brush over and down, you can see that line a little bit better. So watch making that too severe. But what I do along the top of the brow, okay, is I would just, and see, okay, when you're looking at brow pencils, very, 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 very compressed. You don't want anything fluffy or you're not going to get the look you want because you're creating hairs. Okay, you're creating hairs, so you need to have a very compressed brush. This one is Tarte's version, and Anastasia Beverly Hills makes quite a few good ones as well, and Benefit makes them as well. These are some of the main ones. So I'm just going to go along the top, right? And I'm just going to make little strokes just along the top of that brow, okay? And then when I come along here, I like to make a sort of downward motion to follow the way that my the hairs grow in my brow. So every time I'm making sort of a stroke or like some sort of motion, I'm following the way that the hair is growing up, across, right, and then down, and that follows hair growth. Okay, there. So you can already see that like the makeup was done on both sides, but you know this looks more polished already. This is done with a brow, like a precision pencil, which was this one, right? Just to map out the lower shape first and then come back and fill it in. And then I've come in with a brow powder, right? And in this area now, I would take sort of just a lighter shade in the same family. So if I'm looking at something like this, right? Like I use this to fill in certain spots of the brow. And then I use this kind of just toward the front area, going straight above. And I'm just going to do upward gentle motions, right? And just do a few, but they should start to curve. You know, not necessarily just straight up and down. So just like a couple, and then just picture them starting to curve and go that way. Okay? Is everybody still with me? I just want to make sure we're all singing in the same choir here, and I don't have someone off in a different band. Okay, so just like let me know if you're able to follow this. Okay, all right. So that was 2 products and one simple tool. Okay, and each time I always just go back to my spoolie and just say, how are we doing? So personally, I would just leave. Now at the end of the brow, like mine could use some, help from the Benefit Brow Girls, but see how it's just very natural, okay? And that's where you can use some of these sort of darker shades of powder, or you could use that pencil because you really want the end to be defined, right? So I'm just coming along here, and you pull the top down towards the end, and then see how it's just very simple. That was just done with a powder, okay? So I would just go through, and it doesn't look super thick or anything like that because I don't want it to. And you know how I first just etched it out with the pencil? It's because, but then I did still soften the pencil up into the brow. Now so with this brow, it's like, say you wanted this one to look just like a little bit more polished. Here's another trick. You got the brow done, right? And that looks pretty good. It looks snazzy, all set to go out, all dressed up and no place to go, like the rest of us. Now, here's a fun trick to make the brows pop even more after you've completed them, right? You can take a concealer. So this is just whatever. The concealer you'd use under your eyes, use it, right? Take it. And what I'm doing now is I am just finishing the brow by making it look more polished, right? So what you do is you take a brush. I like a brush that isn't too big, and think of one that you might even use sort of in the lip area, right? You don't want a fluffy brush for this because you're working with a liquid, and fluffy brushes and liquids for precision generally don't work as well. So something like you'd use for a lip brush, or something like this, right? Because I got a big eye area. Look at your eye area, and that's the size of brush you'd use. I'm going to go even smaller, like see something like that. So I'm going to take some of the product, okay? Just a little bit. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to now finish the brow by using concealer. Okay? So I'm going to go, and so you see how it looks pretty snazzy to begin with. I'm going to go up under the brow. I'm looking at you guys here, and so I'm doing my best to try to let you see what I'm doing. Okay, so can you already see how that line is looking? All that in a bucket of chicken and fries, okay? And I'm going to go down here. Keep going. Okay? So what I'm doing is I'm just mapping out the brow even more. Look at how much more defined that looks. And that was just taking a little bit of concealer and going along the lower line, right? And then you can just go right to the point, finish it. Okay? Are we good? Is that easy? You're still with me. Hi, Sonia. Hi, Ati. Okay, so then I'm going to do it on the top as well, okay? So watch out going too light, because your eyebrows can look like they're jumping off your head like a little bit wackadoo. We don't want that. Then I'm going to take the top. I'm going to do it along the top too, right? You can just see that bit of concealer going along the top. Okay, and then we come around. She'll be coming around the mountain, chica, when she comes. Sing! We'll be, come here, so never mind. Okay, and then up here, right? This is just a concealer close to the brow. Fade it. All right, and then right along the point. Boom. Pretty good, eh? You didn't know that Steph K could do a brow because I go in with natural brows. Look at the difference, okay? This is like this starting point, all right? And this is the end point for a natural brow, okay? And then look at like this. I can tell I'm so not a YouTuber yet. All right, so you just look at this, right? And it's like, hi, like this. And then you look at this. What a difference, right? Did you see how magical I was with that brow palette? Okay, so this is a couple of easy steps. Do y'all think you could do this? I think so. Now, what if you want to make sure that the brow products are going to stay in shape? Well, number one, a lot of the things that I showed you, like the brow pencil for starters, a lot of those are waterproof. Not that you're going to like hop in a swimming pool and then come out with your brows and go, look at me, I'm all that out of a bucket of chicken. But this brow gel, I had so many people running after me for this brow gel. So what you do with the brow gel when you're all done, you got everything in place. The brow gel is just a dense product, right? It's going to help to hold the color on. It's going to just help to hold the brow in shape for the rest of however long you want your brows on. So what do? Is you just go over top, right? And you pull it through, okay? Whee! Sound effects are good. Do you want me to sing to you? Oh my God, I used to sing to my clients. I had Harry Rosen as a client. Sorry, I'm talking to myself like you're not even here, and that was rude. I invite you to come out for a play date, and I ignore you. So that's just, look at that even, right? Like, look what the brow gel just did. It helped to just solidify it more. So if you came and you went, my brows are not going to flutter in the wind, that would just be weird anyways, okay? So that is a simple little brow. So if you've had enough of Steph K, we would be done right now. So we finished it with a nice little concealer, and make sure too that if you do that concealer, blend it, like just blend it into place. And this is another thing. When I said that I like to do my brows first before anything, if I hadn't started my eye makeup, it makes it tells me sort of, what I want the eye design to look like, where it should end. It should all sort of, fall symmetrically and upward and outward into place. But now I've got a really defined brow, which is great. And it shows me where to end and how low my eyeshadow should go. Okay. So, let's do one on the other side. And really that's what I would do. And also when you're my clients, that's also, sort of what I'm doing. Now I'm going to show you, does anybody actually have any questions or requests at this point? I'm just checking in with you. Because we talked about sort of, what color we would be choosing. And, sort of like the different products and which ones make the most sense for you. And also this is something that, I would do, like you guys could book me and we could do one-on-one sessions, even if we're on the camera like this. Happy to do that for you because we all have a different starting point. But if you look at the pictures I posted, most of those were from weddings, but some people had zero eyebrows, period, nothing. They had no starting point. And, I was using waterproof pencils, or I would be using some of that like a pomade because I'm comfortable with it. Okay, I'm going to use the pomade now because I mentioned that it can be a little bit tricky to work with. So I'm going to show you how to work with something like this. Okay. If I mess it up, you still have to encourage me and be nice to me. Now, okay, look at this brow. All right. The brows are whatever, sisters. They're not meant to be twins, something like that. So this brow, I use this one to demo because it makes me look like a rock star because it's already in good shape. Now this one's my mini minor train wreck of a brow of the two. Okay. So, it's funny. I was a demo a while back for, a brow class, and I had the brow plucked right here and it never grew back. So stop plucking your brows. Different things. There's waxing, there's threading, there's plucking. But once you pull those suckers out of your head, there comes a point where they don't grow back. And I've seen very unhappy clients come in without brows, and it's, you're starting from scratch. So we have these pomades. A lot of times when you first get them, they're really creamy. Like they're really, really dense. And as they age a little bit, here's one thing too. You open these guys, take the amount of product out, maybe put it on a mixing palette, but close it right away so that you'll have the product longer. Like something like that size for your brows, good God. I mean, that would last me a year or more. Here's what we do. So we take a little bit, right? You take a really, really compressed tool like this. Dawn, I keep saying tool. I don't want to scare you, lovey-dove. But I'm going to just take a little bit of the product like this. Okay. Right away, you're going to just wipe it down. Or what we used to do is take the lid and really press it into the lid, press it into the lid and get rid of any of the excess. So now there's not a lot on this brush, right? And I'm going to use the same sort of technique. So step by step this is what I do. I brush up, okay, and then over. because I want to say, okay, you know, how much brow do I have to work with? What stage are they in? And then just tame it and look at the way that the brow grows. Okay, so up and moving in this direction and then down, and then catch those upper Groucho Marx hairs, put them in place. Yes, I know, my brow people, I'll see you soon. And then these upper hairs actually grow down. So, you know, this upper brow line has a lot of stuff missing, and this one has some stuff missing too. So we're trying to make her look like she's, you know, going to be in the same family photo as her, as close as we can get. So I've got this product. Again, I'm going to take a step in. I don't want to start right on this edge, all right? Because I don't want it to look angry. So I'm going to take a half step in, and I'm going to start angling upwards, okay? It's that upward angle. And imagine, again, we mapped it out, right? So from here, so I got some on my nose, big deal. So you go from the upper eye upwards, okay? Or sort of the dent of your nose as a starting point, imagining for symmetry that it's just a continuation of this arc of the face, okay? I'm just reviewing if you missed this before. This inner eye up to where you've created the high point would be sort of the type of an arch that we want to be creating, okay? Is that clear? I hope so. Okay, so I'm going to take a little bit more of this pomade because I wiped it down so much that there was nothing on it, and I'm actually confident with this product. Okay, so wipe it down, wipe it down, wipe it down, and then we're going to map this out again, okay? Map her out. Notice I'm just doing, and it's very faint. Oh my God, don't get carried away. You're going to look crazy. See how it's already coming together? Stop. I can hear the fans cheering. The confetti is flying, and we're off to an amazing start. Tears in my eyes. I can see the finish line in sight, and off I go, okay? All right, so look at that. Like, that's just mapping it, right? Now, if you got up close, you can still see it's piecey, but it still makes me really confident when I map out the lower part of my brow first, because it gives me sort of like a direction as to what I'm going to be doing here. So I'm going to keep going. I'm going to map out that lower, a nice upward slant. I'm not making Happy McDonald's brows. Unless you miss McDonald's. Then you can do a tribute to McDonald's and make Happy McDonald's brows. Go ahead. Who am I to say? Good. Let's see, last time I had my whole big old hand in front. Okay, so I map it, I map it, I map it. Okay, and I get to the bottom, and I can just, you know, do sort of that little triangle-y thing. Pull the product into, and now I look. Now, some people might like that line being super strong to begin with. Then fine, just leave it, right? It's fine. It's okay. I still soften it though. I soften it up and over into the brow because I can still use it as a mapping, but I get flipped out if I feel like it's gonna look too strong. Okay, because I like a natural brow. Okay, so I drew it into place very gently. It was with the pomade, yes, with my angled brush, little strokes. Okay, do little strokes because then you'll feel more in control of the product. And then I did not go all the way to here because I'm gonna use generally like a powder for something like that because I want this, or a lighter color. So I just want this to be nice and soft. Okay, so it's coming, right? It's on its way to the races. Now I still feel like there's a big space in here. This is where it never grew back. Okay, so I'm gonna take a little bit more of the pomade, and I'm still gonna use it to map that out and just to fill it in. Okay, like that. Go to a professional though to get the main shape in, and then just maintain it. You see that? I filled in that space. Okay, and just step back and check in. Step back and check in. If you do your makeup way the heck too close like this, you're gonna freak yourself out. You're gonna think it looks good, and then you step back, it doesn't look good. So I brush up, and then I come down this way, right? Now, again, like your upper brow really helps to dictate the shape. Like I really like the shape of this one naturally. This one has some renegade hairs like just up here and just up here, just a little bit above. And I would get those ones to be like plucked or trimmed out. But I like my pro girls to do that. That's what they're here for. Okay, so with the upper, could I take the pomade and still etch that out? Well, I could. I'll show you because I'm hardly using any of it, right? I'm not creating a super strong, crazy line. So again, if you just sort of brush this down a little bit, it makes it more, brush it down a bit, and it's more apparent where that upper line is, okay? So where the brow, so at the top, this is good. I don't need to touch this, like that line is there. But here where it starts to grow down, right, I can just add a little bit of that product just to help fill it in, right? Or even just go a little bit sideways, because that's sort of more of the shape we want to create, right? So you see how I just filled that in? It's still though little brush strokes, right? You see how those are coming together. Okay, so that's the pomade. I mean, so as I said, like some of my beautiful Middle Eastern clients would probably do like a lot of their brow with the pomade, because they want this dramatic look, right? With, you know, the full like cat eyes and full liner, and that's fine, because it's like artwork. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I've used the pomade, and so see, it's manageable if you only use just a little bit of it. Now I'm going to use, again, I'm going to play with a bit of pomade, and then I'm going to fill it. Oh, you know what I didn't use? Sorry, guys. You know, I didn't use this. I did speak of these guys. So, they often have little fibers in them, and they're going to give your brow more volume. Okay, so I'll show you how you would use something like this. So, now, could I use this on its own? I generally don't, just because I still want to have definition. It's a mascara wand, right? So it doesn't give the definition I need. So I would still use a brow pencil with this, or a powder, to help define the shape of the brow. But here's how these guys work, right? So you would brush it backwards into the brow, okay? And you're going, you're messing it up. No, everyone, just hold the phone. I'm not. I'm just taking product, brushing her backwards, okay? The reason being is they have building fibers right in them, and so that's what's used to create more brow. Could you just take it and go right over top of here? Yeah, you could. But if you just want more volume, go backwards first to create more volume, to create like a fuller brow, okay? So, you know, just maybe just like wait a little bit just to sort of let it set, you know, just a little dry, just a little bit, you don't have to wait for hours. And then go back up, okay? And then pull it through, go this way. This is that product I was mentioning that's, you know, if you have any gray hairs, it catches your gray hairs. So I'm just going very lightly through here, right? And pulling the product through, okay? So it's great for adding more color and more volume, but to use it on its own, it's kind of helpful to have a perfect brow shape. And I don't know, I don't use it on its own. I just don't think it's enough. I would either take, you know, like a precision pencil and still like map out the balance of the shape. And this was used to give the volume of the shape. Does that make sense? Yay, nay? Hope so. Okay, so then let's take a look. I don't know if you can see closely there. I mean, so see, this one is very, very natural. This was done with a bit of powder and with a pencil. This one is more dramatic because I used a pomade, right? But I could still get it as dramatic with the pencil. But this was a very gentle use of a pomade. And then I went backwards with, this one's called Gimme Brow. I don't know what Arbonne, this is a tinted brow cream. This one is Arbonne's, and this one has a lot of tackiness and a lot of payout as well. Okay, so and that's what we would do. So just, you know, let it dry, let it set. You can use these products in different combinations though, right? And as I said, if you've got great brows to begin with and you just brush those suckers into place and pulled a brow gel through, then it could look good too. I don't like to add 150 things to my face. I just don't. It's just not my thing. But, you know, if you look, like, see how this is just lighter and it's going up and over? I really didn't touch it much. My starting point is pretty good. But if you take a lighter color of shadow, but in the same family, I don't mean if you're using like a dark brown, go with all of a sudden a warm brown. It's like, no, just, you know, go with the lighter shade of the two. Like I said, if you've got this, and then, you know, just play a little bit between the two, and it would be like, go do an upward stroke like this, and then pull over, upward stroke like this, and pull over. But see how it goes lighter here? I'm not going to touch that. For fun, go ahead and make that kind of craziness. And you're just gonna, it looks angry, it looks harsh. But this just really, you know, completes the makeup look. Does anybody have any questions? Oh, let's finish this side too, just because we did on the first side. So I'm going to take again a more compressed brush, and I'm going to just finish it. Okay, so I'm just going to, I'm picking up the product. You see, I use something like a lip brush, just a wider lip brush, or just one that is more synthetic and not a poofy brush. I'm going to go again. If you missed this the first time, you can see it on this side. Okay, so just up and under. Okay, and again, I didn't take my eyeshadow high or anything like that. I'm not messing. So I'll take sort of this end, the more pointed end, just to get right under there, and then just turn the brush slightly on an angle just to soften that. Okay. And what I'm doing is I'm just cleaning up that brow, right? And then on this side, okay, I can brush that into place a little bit better because it looks a little bit messy. Like I would get this area sort of cleaned up. If I get brave, maybe I would show you how to actually go at it with tweezers and all that kind of stuff, but I don't generally. I love my girls to do my brows. That's my treat to myself, but I like to then take them and shape them, and that's what we were focusing on today. So even up here, okay, we're gonna just, okay, keep it soft though, right? I was saying we don't want to have this big jaggedy left, but this is just to clean it, okay? And I'm gonna go here, up across the top, okay? And then I'm gonna come down here. And sorry guys, I had a phone call. Oh, look at that. And then we're going to just come down here and then just take it and soften it. Soften it, soften it, soften it. Fade it out. Okay, fade that out. All right. Now I've got the two looking slightly different, but anyways, but that's how you finish it, to make it look really super clean, right? And if you did this a little bit lighter, I mean, it's just going to make the eyes totally pop and look amazing. So that's what we're doing. I'm not sure. Can you see, like, when I'm getting these crazy notifications on my phone? I don't know. Anyways, so those are just really simple brow looks. And then we finish it with a concealer to make it look, you know, really, really polished. And then you can take a brow gel, if you wish, and pull it through. But types of combinations I would probably use with a brow gel is like if you're going to do, you know, like a bit of pencil, a powder, and then a brow gel, or a powder and then a brow gel work well together. If your starting point is good, you don't want to use too many products. But that is basically it. So, you know, that's a finished brow. If I wanted to go more dramatic, I would just sort of up this area. You know, if I wanted to make, but anyways, that would basically conclude the tutorial. So if you are, you know, happy with that amount of knowledge, then you can go. You know, I'm gonna just intensify this one just for the heck of it. But if you joined me today, thank you. I mean, that's how I do my brows, and that's how generally I would do a client's brow. But let's just make this girl a little more intense just for the hell of it. So I'm just gonna go up here, right? And this is now going a little bit. So this is me using the pomade. I'm gonna go along the top, pull it down, pull it down. That's the way the brow grows, right? I'm gonna go over here. And this is just, you know, intensifying this shape that I've already created. Okay. So that was just taking a pomade over top and very little on the end of the brush, right? I don't know. See, I don't know if you guys like something like that. To me, I start to feel like unnatural. But that's, you know, that's the beauty of something like a pomade, is you can make it look like super crazy like that and then just take it and brush it through. And this already had the brow gel in it, but I don't care. I'm just working right over top of it, right? So the spoolie is your best friend. It's just going to pull product right through, but see? Da, 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 da. Just intensifying, filling in the gaps, still not touching this area, okay? And going over, going down, because that's the way that your hair grows down here. So take it and start to follow that motion. So it's up over and then down. There. Do you like that? I don't know. I feel a bit freakish. To me, it's like Alicia. Really? Okay. You like this more intense one, right? Because to me, I feel overly expressive, but it's viable. And then to me, this is just like the more natural everyday, and I don't feel so intense doing it that way. But this is completely fine. But that's just not what I would generally do. So I'm just gonna check in now to see if anybody has any questions, and if not, I'm just going to conclude. If you have questions about anything I used today, I can answer that for you as well. So I'm thinking so also let me know what other kind of topics you would like me to cover, because I'm happy to do that. I was thinking of doing one on lips. Um, how to make your lips look more full. Ha ha. Keep your comments to yourselves. But there are ways that if you start with a smaller lip that we can make them look, like a little bit fuller. So I'm happy to show you that. But anyways, guys, I hope this was helpful to you. Um, and I'm just looking at some of the comments as they're popping through. So I would love for you to also send me some shots, just DM me some, when you try to do your own brows. I'd love to see how they turn out. That would be awesome. And I really enjoyed doing this for you today. I tried to make it not too makeup artisty so that you can follow along. So have a great day. Thank you for tuning in with me. Sorry about some of the interruptions. I thought I had turned off my notifications. So we will chat soon, okay? And we will talk soon. Bye, guys. Thank you.